Well, that certainly wasn't the video I was planning on coming back with, but the story is just so ridiculous that I have to tell you about it. Yes, you've read the title correctly. I have gotten permanently banned in the finals, and then in less than a month, I've gotten permanently banned in Overwatch as well. And in both of those cases, I did nothing wrong. So, let me tell you the whole story of how we got here. Don't worry if you aren't familiar with any of these games, I will be explaining everything just so you can understand the context. I am going to be completely transparent with you because I have nothing to hide, and I'm probably not getting unbanned anyways, so there's really no reason for me to lie about anything. I'm also gonna include the complete stories of how I initially got into those games, as that will be relevant to some later details, so I'd like to ask you to please watch this video till the end. And as the last thing, I need to mention that I'm an above average gamer in terms of skill, and have never ever been banned before in any games for any reason in my whole 15 years gaming career. Well, almost never. The only cases that I can remember is getting banned on Hypixel for accidentally typing another server's name in the chat that counted as advertising, and getting banned for cheating on some Standoff 2 server because I was playing on an emulator to see how long will it take me to get banned. Two very silly reasons, but I still have to mention them so that your perception of me doesn't come down to me being some kind of a serial cheater or a horrible person in general. I am all for fair competition in games and, despite my name, against toxic behavior. So with that out of the way, let's begin. We'll start with the finals. Me and my friend have been playing this game since Season 1, both got to Platinum in Season 3, which is above average rank in the finals, and after that mostly moved on to other games. In Season 5, so that's the start of 2025, I decided to come back to the finals, and was sitting in high gold/low plat every season since then, with my friend occasionally hopping back in with me. One day in Season 8, we decided to once again play together, but that day something weird started to happen. If you're already familiar with the finals, feel free to skip the explanation with the timecode on the screen. But for those who don't know, here's how the ranked game mode in the finals works. In a match, there are 4 teams with 3 players each, and at the start of each match, 2 cash boxes and 2 cash out stations spawn on the map. 2 teams fight for each cash box. The winning team goes to put it into a cash out station, and that starts a timer. During this timer, teams fight for cash out ownership, and whichever team has the station at the end gets all of the cash box money, which is essentially your team score. Then the game once again spawns 2 more cash boxes with higher value and 2 more cash out stations in different places. This gameplay loop repeats 3 times in total, and by the end, 2 teams with the most amount of money go to the next round. This game mode is structured like a tournament bracket, with 8 teams at the start going down to 2 in the final round, and the amount of RS, or MMR, your team gets is based on where you place in the tournament. But because first 2 rounds are played with 4 teams in the lobby, there is a thing called third partying. Since both cash out stations are being fought for simultaneously on the same map, nothing stops a team from simply abandoning their fight and going for another station where the other 2 teams are. And while that does mean that you're letting your opponents get money for free, you can probably see how a well-coordinated attack on another team's fight can be easier, and also how having to fight 3 additional players can feel a bit unfair to those teams. I'm not gonna go into detail about the whole griefing meta in the finals and intentional targeting of other teams, but it's at least worth keeping in mind the fact that both of those things have been a very real problem in the community for a while now. And even though it mostly happens at the higher ranks, lower ranks suffer from another issue, and that's the abundance of Smurf accounts. I'm not saying any of this literally causes regular players to be hard stuck, and I'm certainly not using it as an excuse for my potential skill issues, but smurfing and griefing are still relevant to my situation, and I'm simply providing the context. So, now that you understand a bit more about the game, let's move on with the story. Because my friend hasn't been playing for a while, after finishing his placement matches, he got placed into high bronze while I was floating around mid gold. But that day, every single game, we were getting third-partied on what felt like 90% of our cash outs, regardless of whether we were defending or attacking. We legit played in gold lobbies for several hours, and maybe got to second round once. It was insane. And it's not like my friend was rusty either, we were both playing at roughly the same level as we did before. But if you're wondering how I didn't become better in that time while I was playing solo, I switched from F-card to repeater, which, if you have tried it, you know that it definitely takes more skill to aim, and aiming was never my strongest suit. So after going down 2 or 3 ranks that day, we both came to the conclusion that our rank disparity was the reason we were playing against Smurf bodies, getting really unlucky with being targeted for some reason, and we needed to wait for new season rank reset. Season 9 starts and we do our placement matches, which were still hard to play in for some reason, just like in the previous season, but this time with less third partying and more of us just simply getting outplayed. You know how in every competitive game, after doing placement matches, you usually get a slightly lower rank than what you had previously. For reference, my average rank was Gold 1, which is around 28k MMR, and as for my friend, he was around 16k or Silver 2, but that's just because he wasn't playing as much as I did. Just as a reminder, we played in high gold lobbies and were both doing okay, playing at roughly the same level stat-wise. So, guess what ranks we got after getting eliminated in the first round on all 4 of our placement matches. Once again, I was 28k gold 1, my friend was 16k silver 2. We got placed. Me, 8k bronze 1, my friend 1.2k bronze 4. Literally the bottom rank in the finals. So we were 20k MMR below our usual ranks. And bronze lobbies were still hard for us to play in? At this point we were just laughing from how ridiculous it was. It genuinely felt like we were playing at least platinum players than bronze. I have no idea what happened with ranking system back then. My friends stopped playing again and I just stuck with World Tour for the rest of the season, which is basically unranked mode. And you might not believe me and simply brush it off as our skill issue, but here's the thing. One day in Season 9 we played one ranked game together. We destroyed that bronze lobby, both dropping from 10 to 20 kills each round and easily taking first place. So what sounds more plausible to you? We both randomly lost all of our skill on the same day and struggled against bronze players, or the ranking system broke and have been putting us up against higher level players in a game where smurfing is a prominent issue. In any case, regardless of what you might think, I have told you this story just so that you understand how I ended up in bronze after solo queuing to plat. Now let's get to the interesting part. On March 16th, 2026, 10 days before the Season 9 ends, I decide to try and solo queue back to plat to get seasonal rewards, because I haven't touched ranked with 10-foot poles since the start of the season, and I was still in bronze. And for this occasion, I wanted to try out something new. Again, if you're not familiar with the game, I shall now explain everything in details. In the finals, there are 3 classes to choose from: light, medium and heavy, with each one having different weapons, abilities and gadgets that you can combine to create your own unique loadouts. I was always the medium main, and one day I saw this guy on YouTube called The Real Rhino. He plays with a very interesting loadout that is based around using dual blades as a weapon and utilizing the environment to isolate 1v1s. To put this into perspective, melee weapons in the finals have pretty much always been somewhat niche, and because medium's gadgets are mostly focused around team utility rather than light's mobility and heavy's space control, both of medium's melee weapons are even less viable than other classes. So on top of never being quote-unquote meta and kinda being one of the worst weapons in the game in general, dual blades also have a somewhat bugged block ability, which is supposed to deflect bullets, but in rare cases it doesn't, which I guess contributes to their unpopular status. Rhino's loadout also has a data reshaper, a gadget that hasn't seen much use in the community as well due to there being better alternatives, but being one gadget that I have recently absolutely loved playing with. Because those two things are so niche, and the fact that I haven't played with melee weapons before, ever, I've decided to try and use this loadout in my road back to plat. While the initial learning curve was definitely rough, I've already started seeing some decent results on the second day and was steadily climbing through silver. I've gotten stuck for a bit there trying to get to gold, but eventually broke that barrier and got to around 21k, which is gold 4, aka the lowest gold rank. And then comes March 25th, the final day of Season 9. I decided to go all out for the last attempt to get to plat, and had my game booted up for over 12 hours hopping on and off. And it paid off, although not quite. In those 12 hours I have managed to get to 29k and was kind of floating around that MMR, not being able to break the 30k plat barrier. After finishing one of my games, I tapped out as I usually do to watch YouTube, then noticed that a new game has been found, but I was still in the main menu. I thought that maybe the server didn't load up or something, so I pressed play again just to be greeted with this message. Permanently suspended. Your account has been permanently suspended for behavior that violates our code of conduct. Due to the severity of your violation, access to your account will not be restored. For more information, please contact player support. What the fuck? I have thought to myself and immediately went to contact Embark support. I have read through the rules, but nothing has suggested that I violated any of them. I have not cheated, I have not exploited bugs, I certainly didn't harass anyone as I was barely talking in chat. I've been playing on my only account that I've had since Season 1, and I haven't tried to bypass anti-cheat protection because I wasn't cheating. So I got permanently banned for literally no reason. Except, I do have a confession to make.
You know, I'm Russian.
Living in Russia has interesting consequences. Because of our great government, half of the internet has been blocked for censorship. No YouTube, no Discord, no Twitter, no Instagram, and hundreds if not thousands of other websites are not accessible as well. And even simply saying what I'm about to say could potentially get me in trouble. But I care more about giving you the whole context than I care about my real life, so I'm just gonna say that the following statements are strictly for informational purposes, and I do not encourage using the mentioned software. In order to get around Russian internet restrictions, a properly configured proxy or a VPN or something called a DPI bypass program is needed. One such program is called Zapret. I'm not gonna pretend to understand how it works, but from what I've read, it basically obfuscates your internet traffic with garbage data so that it doesn't trigger the mechanisms that are supposed to block it. Let me tell you, out of all Russians who actively use Western websites, if they don't have a VPN, they have Zapret. It doesn't work for everyone, but nonetheless it is pretty popular here. I have it constantly running in the background as well, but here's the thing. I cannot connect to the final servers if Zapret is running. So to avoid this limitation, Zapret has a setting called Game Filter, which I'm assuming is responsible for internet traffic going through non-browser applications. And if I disable the Game Filter, I can both play the finals and watch YouTube, along with talking on Discord with my friends, something that players in other countries don't have to worry about. There is another program that I used for the same exact purposes, which is Amnesia VPN, but it wasn't running at the time of my ban. Essentially, it's a more configurable Cloudflare Warp if you ever used it, and I have to mention that I was using Cloudflare Warp initially, but at some point it stopped working for me, so I switched to Zapret. And one more thing is that I was playing on a laptop where I recently had to reinstall Windows because a bug in one of the VPNs completely bricked my internet connection. So apart from Zapret, there was nothing running in the background that could be even remotely suspicious. None of my devices have any kind of software to them. I'm literally playing with an $8 office mouse. Best mouse in the world, by the way. But who knows, maybe I was banned for accidentally saying something offensive in chat that I don't remember. Being very sad and confused, I made my first ticket to Embark support. I've been playing ranked on my account today to try and grind for seasonal rewards on the last day, and after one of the games I get a message saying that my account is permanently banned for violating code of conduct. I've looked at possible ban reasons, but none apply to me since I've never used any cheats or exploits, and this is my only account that nobody but me has access to. The only suspicious thing I can think of is that it was the first time my game has been booted up for over 12 hours, and I've ranked up quite a bit in that time, and overall in the past week. But it's only because I got placed in bronze initially at the start of the season, and as a plat player it wasn't that hard to rank back up. I do have a DPI bypass program running in the background for my general connection, if that's something that could be falsely flagged by anti-cheat, but it shouldn't affect the game as my connection to the servers get timed out if I have it on while playing the finals, and I never had any issues with it in my 400 hours of playtime or in other games. So I'd like to hopefully appeal this false ban because I genuinely don't know what could have caused it. And thankfully I've had more proof of my innocence than just my words to help with their investigation. Because the finals doesn't have match replays, I've turned on Steam recording for it to save some fun matches I had. For example, saving funny clips like this, where the guy tried to snipe me from across the map just to die to my deflect. I uploaded the footage I've had to YouTube and sent it to Embark support in the additional message. That footage is also the one you've been watching throughout this whole video, and I will leave the same links that I sent to Embark down in the description if you want to see my gameplay for yourself. While I'm waiting for the response, here's some additional video evidence of my gameplay that I have on my PC. I hope this can prove that I'm not cheating, smurfing, or insulting my teammates in chat. I don't know for sure, but you probably have chat logs that you can check as well, if that's the reason for my ban. Number 1. The final round before I got banned, including the ban message itself. Unfortunately, game audio didn't capture. Number 2. Second day of me switching to dual blades build. Saved this game because I felt like I did really well. Was stuck in silver for a bit as I was still adjusting to playing with melee. Number 3. Game where one of my teammates didn't connect, but we still managed to get to the final round. Number 4. First round of a World Tour game where I went 10-1 and so decided to save the recording. This was a month before I started grinding ranked and I just want to include a match here with a weapon other than blades. I was gold in ranked with repeater in previous seasons as well. A week later, on April 1st, I get this response from Blade.
Hi again. Thank you for patiently waiting for our response. After reviewing your account activity, we have confirmed the use of software or tools that provide an unfair advantage in the game. This behavior violates our terms of service and community guidelines, and as a result, the suspension on your account will not be lifted. Please let us know if you have any further questions. Kind regards, Blade.
So I was banned for cheating, while playing in gold lobbies as a plat player. With fucking dual blades of all things, which I will remind you is a melee weapon, so that already rules out the possibility of aim hacks, and with over an hour of video evidence of my gameplay. If this is an April Fool's joke, I don't think it's a really funny one. And while I was climbing up the ranks pretty fast, it's not like I was curb stomping every single lobby. As I've mentioned, there were a couple of times where I've gotten kinda hard stuck in the process. But if you put a platinum player in bronze lobbies, it's not that unbelievable that they would be able to quickly rank back up. If anything, it should be encouraged for higher skilled players to rank up to where they belong and not have them eternally terrorize new players. Also, I want to include a little side note here. While it seems like their hi again was in regards to Blade's first message, I want to mention that I've actually contacted Embark support back in Season 2, because back then their game was very buggy and I somehow had multiple Embark accounts linked to the same Steam account. You can pause the video if you want to read this conversation as well, where even though I've lost my account progress, they nevertheless helped me resolve the issue. But what's interesting is that I cannot scroll back up to it in my support chat anymore. I'm not sure if there's simply a limit on visible messages or tickets, or Embark decided to remove my only pleasant interaction with their support because they consider me a cheater now and are trying to remove any connections to me. But going back to my ban situation, here's the thing. While their ban enforcement article states that external software can trigger anti-cheat systems, I was using Zapret for 200 hours with no issues. I remind you, if Zapret would have interacted with the game, I wouldn't be able to connect to the servers. And what's even weirder, before Zapret, for another 200 hours I was using Cloudflare Warp, which actually interacts with my whole connection, since it's a proxy. Also no issues there. Moreover, the finals can show you a system integrity violation error that includes stopping you from launching the game with forbidden tools running in the background. I have never seen these error codes in all my 400 hours of playtime. Not even once. Even though Zapret and Cloudflare Warp work differently, both of them are used for the same exact purpose, being able to simply use the internet. And Embark also explicitly stated, we don't ban people for using VPN. But in my case, they are for some reason completely sure that I've been using it to somehow cheat in the finals. Anyways, Embark's response looks like an automated message, let's be honest. For a company that has been actively using AI in both ARC creators and the finals, this doesn't sound like something extraordinary. Being slightly frustrated with this response, I made another ticket 2 days later. Just so you know, this message contains the full name of Zapret, and while the program is publicly available, just to be safe and not potentially break any Russian laws, I will have to slightly censor that part for the video. Hello, I'm not sure if this ticket is still active or not. I didn't have internet connection for the past 2 weeks, so I couldn't follow up on the ticket. In any case, I have never cheated in any games, and I sent you over an hour of my gameplay recordings as evidence. Since the automatic response was about software flag, my only guess is again that same DPI bypass program. It's called Запрет by blank, and it only allows me to access blocked websites such as Discord since I live in Russia. Again, it's not a cheating software and it shouldn't interact with the game in any way, unlike Cloudflare Warp, which I've used for 200 hours before that for the same reasons. If it's seriously considered a cheat, then all Russian players should be banned, as I can assure you everyone has it running here simply for being able to communicate with friends on Discord. Please get an actual human to look at my case instead of simply sending an automated response. Looking forward to it. I probably gotten a bit too emotional at the end, but I guess I just wanted to convey the whole absurdity of the situation. Suddenly getting permanently banned for nothing tends to have that effect. In the meantime, I was looking up to see if any other players have been false banned in the finals, and I found a lot of stories. Probably the most out of all competitive games I've seen. While there were some cases of people getting unbanned, those are really just a few rare exceptions. Imagine how bad the false ban situation needs to be for the main subreddit with almost 100k members to have a banned mega thread pinned for the people to share their false ban stories, and on the YouTube side, several big creators for the finals making videos on this topic. I'm not saying that everyone who has been quote-unquote false banned is innocent, but the sheer amount of false ban claims in the finals makes you question the accuracy of the anti-cheat system. Especially when there's a lot of people saying that the finals still has a cheater problem. Anyways, let's get back to Embark's response to my second message, which they sent 21 days after I made this ticket.
Hi Toxic664. Thank you for contacting us again regarding your restriction. The security team has already reviewed your case, and we have made the decision that your permanent ban will remain in place, as we are certain that you have been participating in activities that resulted in unfair gameplay for others. Please also note that we cannot share any more details regarding your restriction than what we've already mentioned. We appreciate your understanding. Regards, Blade.
But I'm not asking you for the details. I just want to be able to prove my innocence and have my account back. Also, participating in activities that resulted in unfair gameplay for others is quite different wording to them explicitly stating the use of software or tools that provide an unfair advantage in their previous response.
この味は嘘をついてる味だぜ。ブレード。
I was getting really frustrated with how their support was handling my tickets, so a week later on April 30th, I decided to go all out on them in the final attempt to get an actual person to review my case. Once again, this is a false ban. I am not cheating and have not ever cheated. This is my only Steam account that I've had for over 15 years with thousands of hours in competitive games, where I have never been banned once for any reasons. Why would I feel the need to suddenly cheat with dual blades? I'm not even sure how that would work in gold lobbies, when I've been playing this game since season 1 and have hit plat multiple times before. I'm happy to provide any further information and proof of me being a legitimate player that I have, but I can't do that if you're instantly ruling out the possibility of my ban being a false positive anti-cheat flag. I'm sure my case isn't the only one. I've seen dozens of people on Steam and Reddit claiming they also got falsely banned, and while I can't say for sure that they weren't all cheating, some of them did get unbanned because their bans ended up being a false positive. I'm not even asking you to provide details on my ban that you've mentioned. It's a fair policy to keep it confidential to avoid actual cheaters bypassing the anti-cheat. As I've mentioned, Zapret was the only software that could have potentially triggered a false flag. Even though it's not against the rules to play with a proxy/VPN, which is what Zapret is from my understanding, and even though it wasn't interacting with the game in any way, I don't even mind fully disabling it when playing the finals. I'm mostly solo queuing and don't need it for talking on Discord with my friends, although that would mean that from now on I'll be forced to play solo. But I'm willing to make that sacrifice if it means that my account is getting unbanned. I will attach all of the links to my gameplay videos once again, that you can hopefully watch and verify that this was a false positive ban. Please work with me to help improve the actual cheat detection and avoid putting other legitimate players in the same situation. And at the end, those are the same 4 links that I've attached to my first ticket and which are also in the description of this video. At that point, I wasn't really expecting things to change. On top of having to wait half a month for a response, it certainly wasn't reassuring that I was getting answers from an AI. But you know what the saddest thing is? Do you remember how I said that in the finals, Medium didn't really have any utility to help with melee playstyle, and also that I was banned on the last day of Season 9? Well, guess what? In Season 10, Embark added a new movement specialization for Medium class called the Shockwave, which can be used as a sort of rocket jump. So it was like an additional kick in the balls with the fact that I couldn't try out this new thing that might make my now main loadout more competitively viable and more fun. Oh well, at least my boy the real Rhino is having a blast with it.
You're not supposed to be here. Just evaporate. Oh, oh my god.
I'm doing some things.
13 days later, on May 12th, I get a response to my third ticket, this time from Rix Retro.
Hi there, this is Rix Retro, and thank you for reaching out regarding your account status. After conducting a detailed investigation, your account was banned because it was flagged by our anti-cheat system. We trust the accuracy of this system, and we do not reopen accounts that show severe violations. The investigation confirmed that the account was involved in actions that resulted in an unfair gameplay experience for others. Because of this, the permanent ban will remain in place.
Motherfucker, why are you talking like this is the first time I've contacted your support team? And how after conducting a detailed investigation, your final verdict is that my account has been flagged by the anti-cheat system? It is your fucking job to tell the actual human employees to confirm or deny the fact of cheating, because automatic systems are not perfect. Also, why are you telling me the exact same thing twice with slightly different wording?
この味は嘘をついてる味だぜ。
リックスレトロ。
At this point, it is crystal clear to me that this investigation never happened and I'm just getting automated responses. So for my fourth ticket, I decided to switch the strategy and consult with my good friend ChatGPT. It actually made a good point that I was getting too emotional with my tickets, and it's probably better to simply state that I want a manual review of my case with a focus on it being a false positive. Also, it suggested that I document everything, which gave me motivation to actually start working on this video instead of having it in the back of my mind. Right before I started to write the script for this video, on June 13th, I've sent Embark my fourth ticket.
Hello. I understand that my previous appeals have been denied and that your team cannot disclose a specific reason for the ban. I am contacting you again regarding my permanent ban because I genuinely believe my account was incorrectly flagged. I have invested hundreds of hours into the game since Season 1 and have never knowingly used cheats, exploits, automation, or any software intended to gain an advantage over other players. What I am asking is that my case remain open to the possibility of a false positive. Anti-cheat systems are an important part of maintaining competitive integrity, but every detection system can occasionally make mistakes. During my previous appeals, I mentioned that I had networking software installed for accessing blocked services in Russia, such as Discord and YouTube. To the best of my knowledge, this software was not interacting with the finals and was not intended to provide any gameplay advantage. I mention this only because it is the only unusual software environment I can identify that might potentially have contributed to false positive. I am not asking for details about the detection or for an explanation of your anti-cheat methods. I respectfully request that my case be reviewed again by a senior member of the security team. I would be happy to provide any information that could assist with the investigation. Thank you for your time and consideration.
A blatantly obvious AI message, but if it works, it would be really funny. I have nothing to lose anyways. 2 days later, I get a response from their third support agent, Fuzzy Wuzzy.
Hey there, thank you for reaching out to us again. Our security team has reviewed your account and found that a software triggered our anti-cheat system, which led to your account restriction. Our team is confident that this means you violated our terms of service, and unfortunately, we are unable to lift the ban. We also cannot share details about specific programs or tools that may have caused this issue, as it could affect the effectiveness of our security measures. We understand this may not be the response you were hoping for, but please know that our decision is final, and your account will remain restricted. Best regards, Fuzzy Wuzzy.
This was a really fast answer. Only 2 days compared to previous responses ranging from a week to 3 weeks. I guess their AI chatbot spotted a fellow clanker. So yeah, this time they basically confirmed that they never actually did any investigation, which probably includes ignoring the footage I've sent them, and decided to simply blindly trust in their AI anti-cheat. Not a whole lot I can do about that. At the time of this video, this is the last ticket I've made, and my account is still banned. I'm probably going to continue periodically contacting Embark until they permaban me from their support as well, though it does feel like talking to a brick wall and I'm not a particular fan of such activities. Regardless of whether I manage to prove my innocence or lose my mind trying, I think I've told you everything there is and we can move on to the second part of the story. Overwatch. I've been casually playing Overwatch since 2016, and yes, that does mean that I've witnessed the release of all the Overwatch 1 characters. So you could call me OG in that department. But by 2019 I was starting to lose interest in the game, mainly because I didn't really have any friends to play Overwatch with, and also my old laptop has always really struggled to run it. Additionally, there always was a better alternative to Overwatch. Paladins, rest in peace, was my #1 choice when it comes to hero shooters, and I have been playing it with that same friend that I've been playing the finals with. After Paladins got killed by Hi-Rez, I suggested to my friend that we could try out Overwatch, which by that time went free to play on Steam. I no longer had access to my previous Battle.net account since it had a Russian phone number linked to it, and there was no way for me to change it because Russia. So my friend who lives in Europe helped me create a new account which I've linked to my Steam. And after that, in November 2025, we started playing Overwatch and both got pretty hooked on it. Despite hearing how bad Overwatch 2 was compared to Overwatch 1, I actually enjoyed 5v5 more than 6v6, and as a tank main at that. Based on what I've told you before about my playstyle in the finals, can you guess which tank character I played? Well, it was Ball. Right on his release, I immediately loved Wrecking Ball's niche assassin-type playstyle and how he was fundamentally different to all the other characters. But because Wrecking Ball is not a tank in the usual sense and is more like a fat flying annoyance, he's also one of the most, if not the most hated character both by your opponents and your teammates. For those not familiar with Overwatch at all, let me quickly go through Wrecking Ball's abilities, because I want you to understand one thing about his kit. For Overwatch players, feel free to skip to the timestamp on the screen. Quad cannons. Deal measly 5 damage per shot at most and have a pretty low range. You really need to be up close to the target doing headshots to get good damage out of them. Roll. You become a ball, gain increased movement speed and third-person view, but you cannot shoot. To deal damage in ball mode, Hammond has 2 other abilities. Grapple. You can swing across the map like Spider-Man, which makes Wrecking Ball the most mobile character in the game despite being a tank. If you're moving fast enough, you activate Fireball mode, which deals 60 damage on contact with enemies and 120 damage to enemy tanks if you have the perk. For simplicity's sake, let's say that Fireball always deals 120 damage to tanks. Pile Driver. If you're 3 meters above the ground, you can drop down and deal up to 100 damage to enemies below you, depending on how close they are to the impact. This also knocks enemies into the air, which limits their movement. A very common tag that can be done almost anywhere is dropping down from a ledge and then slamming back onto it, which helps a lot, especially in 1v1 situations. Adaptive Shields. Give Wrecking Ball temporary additional health depending on the amount of enemies nearby. Part of this health can also be transferred to nearby teammates. And Minefield, which is his ultimate, well, is a minefield. There's not much more to say about it. I'm not going to tell you right away why I've had to explain his abilities, but Overwatch players have probably already guessed where I'm going with this. Anyways, as I've already mentioned, I was a tank player and almost exclusively duo-queued with my friend who was going back and forth between DPS and support. On January 1st, while doing my New Year stream on Twitch, I managed to hit Diamond for the first time, and that's where I got kinda stuck in terms of ranking up. One day, on April 22nd, 2026, so that's just 3 days short of my 1-month anniversary of the finals ban, I was once again just simply playing ranked on Wrecking Ball with my friend. Then after a couple of hours, he said that he wasn't really feeling like playing Overwatch anymore and left to do other things. I decided to play solo tank for a bit more, and after maybe an hour of doing that, I get kicked out of the game with this message: "Your Battle.net account has been banned. Please consult your registered email for details." Excuse me? I opened my email and sure enough there is a message from Blizzard. Since it was sent to me in Russian, I found and put the English version on the screen. Basically, it just says that I've violated their code of conduct, and that's it. Nothing specific. Blizzard is kinda known for giving out bans with questionable reasons, and people mass reporting you can lead to getting banned as well. So I wasn't too surprised at the moment. You see, at that time, I've had really shitty internet. You might remember me mentioning it in my second ticket to Embark. My ping would often spike at random moments, up to the point where I would simply get timed out from the match. So I've had to do my best to join back as fast as possible, or wait out the competitive ban if I happen to get kicked in the beginning of the match. And since Blizzard's code of conduct has a whole section about intentional griefing, my ban could have very well been due to that. But a permanent account ban without any prior offenses still seemed a bit weird. Overwatch has its own ban system for leaving ranked games. Even if you do leave a lot of matches, you will just get a competitive ban for the rest of the season, and multiple seasonal bans can get you permanently banned from ranked. But that's still not a full account closure, and you'd still be able to play casual modes. So my second assumption was that I've annoyed too many people by playing Wrecking Ball and eventually got enough mad reports to get an account ban. Again, just like in the finals, I've barely typed anything in chat other than GG, so I was sure that I wasn't banned for insulting someone. And just like with the finals, I've immediately went to appeal my ban, and at least ask for a more concrete reason of my ban than just some code of conduct violation. Hello, my account got permanently banned today and I don't know why. Nothing in the code of conduct suggests I've broken any of the rules. I've never cheated, flamed someone or threw games, and I haven't been banned before. My only guess is because my internet kept cutting out today, I was constantly losing connection to the game, but I always tried to rejoin as fast as possible, as I couldn't do anything more than that to fix the situation. And I'd say in most cases it didn't even affect the outcome of the game, since it usually happened once or twice at the start or at the end of the game. Could you please provide the exact reason for my ban? It feels really unfair getting a permanent ban when, from my point of view, I did nothing wrong and didn't have any prior offenses. 9 hours later, I get a response from Game Master Kiwau.
Hi Blank, I am Game Master Kiwau and it will be my pleasure to assist you today. To let you know that there is an ongoing final review of your case. We'll let you know as soon as it has concluded. Thank you for your patience and I wish you an excellent day.
Well, ignoring the fact that this Game Master has a typing quirk of doing triple spaces, it's good to know that someone at Blizzard is reviewing my case. So I patiently waited for their conclusion. And waited, and waited. A month has passed and there was nothing. Even though they said that they would let me know about the results, there was never any follow-up. So on May 23rd, I've made another appeal to remind them about my situation. Hello, is this review still ongoing? It's been over a month and you didn't contact me about the results or stated the reason for my ban. If it is due to my internet acting up, I don't agree that I should receive a permanent ban for something outside my control. I didn't know if and when it would cut out and kick me from the game, and I certainly didn't leave games on purpose, otherwise why would I rejoin them? Please give me the reason for my ban so we can discuss this issue further. Looking forward to your reply. Looking back at it, I probably shouldn't have said that I don't agree with my ban, but at that point I was already frustrated about dealing with the finals support team, and getting another false ban certainly wasn't going to improve my mood. But whatever. Exactly 24 hours later after this appeal, Blizzard support sent me a response.
Greetings, this action has been taken in accordance with our terms of use and our in-game policies, which all players acknowledge and agree to prior to playing. These policies and conditions allow us to maintain a fun and safe game environment for all of our players. Our Battle.net terms of use can be found at this link.
On top of not giving me a specific reason for my permanent ban, they also closed this case entirely, meaning that I could no longer appeal my ban. And when contacting their support, it explicitly states that they don't deal with in-game bans. So my account was gone for good for committing a mortal sin of playing Overwatch. But there still was a chance for me to find the actual reason. You see, you can request a copy of your account data directly from Blizzard, and it includes everything. In-game transactions, hero stats, chat logs, everything. I made a support ticket and 20 minutes later got my data. I looked through all of my chat logs to double check if I really haven't said anything offensive, and sure enough I haven't. And then I found this: restriction history. Imagine my face at that moment when I see this line that says I was banned for cheating. Remember how I pointed out that you need to understand one thing about Wrecking Ball, a character that I've played almost exclusively and also had the highest rank on. His main way of dealing damage is not through his main weapon, but his abilities. On top of that, he's one of the few characters that have third-person view, which allows you to look around walls. So by definition, Wrecking Ball is one of the most pointless characters to cheat on. You would get way better results by playing any of the DPS characters, most of which rely on actually shooting the enemies. And the cherry on top, the season I got banned was also the first season where I've had collected enough coins to buy a premium battle pass, from which I would have been able to get my first mythic skin. Yeah. I've already explained that I obviously wasn't cheating and what could have been the only reason for my ban in the final section, so I'm not gonna repeat myself here. This is where the Overwatch story ends. At that point, I couldn't really do anything except laugh at how absurd this whole false ban situation was. Here's the comparison of some truly cinema level similarities between the two bans. Both of these games were games that I've played almost since the very start. Both of them were played on the same Steam account, which is my only Steam account that I've had for over 15 years with thousands of hours in other competitive games. In both of these games, I've had around 400 hours of playtime. Well, not including my first Overwatch account. In both games, I've got permanently banned after pretty long gaming sessions. Both of the ban reasons were cheating. In both games, I was playing with the worst weapon/character for utilizing usual cheats such as aimbotting and wall hacking. Both of the bans happened less than a month apart. The timing on both of those bans prevented me from getting something I was looking forward to. And in reality, I wasn't actually cheating or doing anything wrong. I was just playing ranked. You can't make this shit up. To answer the lingering question that you might have gotten throughout this video, did I make an alt account to simply continue playing? No, I did not, but with a little side note. I've stopped playing the finals completely, but since my friend still wanted to play Overwatch together, he gave me one of his accounts to use that I had to rank up from scratch. I don't play Overwatch solo and, to be honest, never really did ever since coming back to it. So if not for him, I would have quit Overwatch as well. Although I genuinely enjoyed both the finals and Overwatch, and both of those games are free to play, I'm not that crazy about either of them to go out of my way to create myself a second account. As I've said multiple times, I've only ever had one Steam account. Maybe it's just me, but having a second account for games doesn't feel genuine to me, I guess. I'm way more sad about losing some of the limited event skins I had in the finals than not being able to play the game. You may think that I'm lying to you or not telling the whole story, that actually I was cheating and my permanent bans are completely justified, and honestly, that's totally up to you. I've always held a position that everyone should make their own conclusions instead of blindly believing others. This video is not about me proving my innocence to anybody, and neither it is about getting a wider audience to get these game companies to unban me. I don't even have that much of an audience to begin with. I'm just an average guy that likes to play video games who happened to get really unlucky. And I just wanted to tell you my story in hopes of bringing more attention to false bans as a problem in general. Let's say we have 5 different players. First one is blatantly cheating and it's obvious to everyone right away. Second one is more reserved. Let's say he uses some aim adjustment software or something that is only detectable upon closer inspection. Third player is impaired in some way and uses external software that gives necessary accessibility features. Fourth player uses an in-game controller aim assist that is tweaked a bit unfair to KBM players by the developers. And fifth player has some non-cheating software running in the background that, unknowingly to him, gets incorrectly flagged by the anti-cheat system. Regardless of what you think about who and how should be banned in this situation, you probably see the issue if we treat all of these players the same. Just label them all as cheaters, permanently ban them with code of conduct violation as the reason, and don't give them any chance to redeem themselves or prove their innocence. And obviously, all 5 of them are free to claim that they've been falsely banned. Sure, if an actual false ban claim gets enough traction within the community, the ban has a better chance of being overturned. But for some reason, presumption of innocence is a non-existent term in gaming. A lot of people still hold the idea that if someone has been banned in the game, they 100% done something wrong and the anti-cheat system is always correct. Especially if the banned person gets a response from the company support who claim that they did an investigation and confirmed the use of cheats. I can't say for sure, but something tells me that behind the ambiguous word investigation lies something like the company looking at their anti-cheat logs and simply confirming that it says there suspicious program detected. Nothing more. Because why would they do anything more? I'd imagine dozens if not hundreds of players are getting banned every day. Then some portion of them contacts the support, and a portion of that portion has indeed been banned for nothing, even offering their proof and help with the so-called investigation. But why would a company spend their effort looking into all of those claims when they can simply trust the automated systems? It's not like they lose a lot if 1 or 2 players get banned, so why bother? Yet, with the rising use of AI, people started to forget one thing. It was made by humans. And just like humans make mistakes, so do their automated systems. If there is no one to look out for those mistakes, it can easily lead to some unwanted results. Do you remember that Russian guy who prevented global nuclear war in 1980s because he correctly suspected that the missile warning system malfunctioned? A bit of an excessive example, but you get my point. Let's be honest, it's impossible to have a completely cheat-free game. So personally, I'd rather play against actual cheaters here and there than being in a constant fear of my account getting randomly banned for unknown reasons. In any case, I did what I could. I will still occasionally try to contact both Embark and Blizzard support, but I understand that at this point chances of me getting unbanned in either of these games are really low, so I'm not gonna put much more effort into it. Unfortunately, if any of you have been genuinely falsely banned as well, I don't have any advice on how to get your account back. And if being permanently banned for nothing in 2 games is the reality I have to deal with, then at the very least I hope that I've managed to turn my story into an entertaining video. If you're wondering why there's Rocket League footage on your screen, well, that's because it's been one of my main games for the past 7 years, and in that time I think I've gotten pretty good at it. Rocket League was known as the game where it was impossible to cheat due to how different the gameplay is at its core. But fairly recently, even Rocket League had a huge influx of cheaters. People were using AI bots that played so perfectly they could easily outplay pro players. Because of that, in April of 2026, Psyonix implemented Easy Anti-Cheat, which pretty much completely solved the issue. But you probably already see where I'm going with this. The thing is, Russian censorship is so competent, it unintentionally affected Rocket League servers. Or maybe intentionally, at this point I have no idea. So we have a complete opposite situation of the finals. If there I couldn't connect to the servers with Zapret running, in Rocket League I can't connect to the servers if Zapret isn't running. Or any proxy or VPN, it doesn't matter. And while it's already been a whole season and my account is still fine, who knows when something changes on either side and I get falsely struck with banhammer in the process for the 3rd time. And this time it would really hurt, because I've started playing Rocket League back when it was still on Steam and cost money. If you didn't know, in 2020 Rocket League was bought by Epic Games and is now free to play in their launcher. During these 7 years I've gathered a nice collection of cards that are no longer available, because item trading between players was removed. So not only I'd lose all of my limited cards and decals, I'd also lose the ability to play on Steam, which I really care about. and with me getting a new Game Surge 7 Pro controller as a replacement for my old and destroyed Xbox One, I can only pray that Easy Anti-Cheat doesn't somehow detect the Game Surge software as a cheating one, especially since this controller has been a part of some FPS games controversies. Rocket League isn't an FPS game, and lots of people seem to be using this controller fine, but at this point I can't be sure about anything. As the last thing, something very interesting has happened while I was writing the script. Currently it is June 20th, and while I was looking through my Blizzard tickets, I've noticed that on the ban page, the expiration date for my ban changed from year 10,000 to year 1, and the ban itself has moved to past penalties instead of being in the active ones. I haven't contacted Blizzard ever since making my data request on May 24th, and I haven't gotten any email about them lifting my ban either. Since I've last seen my ban still being active in late May, I'm assuming they changed it sometime in June. But it's not all great news. If I boot up Overwatch, it still says that I'm banned in-game. I've looked up on the internet to see if anyone else had this issue, and sure enough there were a couple of pretty recent posts about it. There, people said that unlinking their Xbox account fixed it for them and they could access the game again. But the thing is, nothing is linked to my Battle.net account except for Steam. So I'm going to make a support ticket to ask Blizzard about it, and I will update you in the pinned comment if my Overwatch account was actually secretly unbanned or not. But for now, this is the end of this video. If you have been falsely banned as well in any games, feel free to share your stories in the comments, I read them all. Also, I've had a lot to say here, and it's possible that I missed some details. So if you still have any questions, I will gladly try to answer them. Thank you very much for watching/listening till the end, and I will see you in the next video. See ya!